Callum is 33 years old. He lifts 4 times a week and runs trails on weekends. For 2 years, every rest day looked the same. Couch, minimal movement, as close to horizontal as possible. He called it recovery. What he actually noticed was that the training session after a complete rest day was consistently his worst of the week. His legs felt like concrete. His first few sets were slow and tight. His DOMs lingered longer than it did midweek. He tried everything except the obvious thing. Then he replaced 2 of his 3 weekly rest days with 25-minute low-intensity walks at a pace where he could hold a full conversation. Within 3 weeks, his DOMs was noticeably reduced, his post-rest day sessions felt sharper, and his weekly training quality improved without a single change to his programme. I'm Fraser, and I've got your raw daily fuel for today. In the Scottish Highlands, experienced hill walkers who spend their years bagging Munros, the 282 peaks over 3,000 feet that serious walkers aim to complete, know something that sports science has since confirmed in the laboratory. The morning after a long summit day, the worst thing you can do is stop moving entirely. The hill walker who walks the glen at low effort the next morning, keeping the legs turning over at an easy pace along the valley floor, arrives at his next summit attempt fresher than the man who spent the same morning on the couch. Generations of Highland walkers have been practicing active recovery without ever calling it that. The science simply caught up and gave it a name. Active recovery works because low-intensity movement increases blood flow to damaged muscle tissue without generating the mechanical stress that creates new fatigue. After hard training, metabolic waste products including lactate and hydrogen ions accumulate in the muscle and surrounding tissue. The body clears these through the circulatory and lymphatic systems, but that clearance is significantly faster when blood flow is elevated through gentle movement than when the body is completely at rest. At the same time, increased circulation delivers oxygen and nutrients to fibres that are in the process of repairing, which supports tissue restoration. The result is reduced delayed onset muscle soreness severity and faster return to full training capacity, without any meaningful addition to the fatigue load. The defining variable is intensity. This is where most people either get active recovery right or get it completely wrong. Effective active recovery keeps heart rate below approximately 60% of maximum. Below that threshold, movement aids recovery. Above it, movement becomes a training stimulus, adds to the fatigue load, and competes directly with the recovery process the rest day was supposed to provide. A 20-minute walk qualifies. Light cycling at low resistance qualifies. Gentle swimming, yoga, and mobility circuits all qualify. A tempo run does not. A moderate cycling effort does not. Bodyweight circuits that leave you breathing hard do not. The test is simple. If you cannot hold a full conversation throughout the entire session, the intensity is too high and it is no longer active recovery. The choice between complete rest and active recovery is not a fixed weekly formula. A man who is deep in a high-volume training block with significant accumulated fatigue may benefit more from complete rest on certain days than from any amount of low-intensity movement. A man who is in a moderate training phase with normal fatigue levels will almost always recover faster with active recovery than with complete rest. Training status, current fatigue load, and individual recovery capacity should guide the decision each week. The most useful approach is to check in with the body before the rest day session and ask whether low-intensity movement will leave the body feeling better or more depleted. The answer changes week to week, and that is appropriate. In terms of duration, active recovery sessions of 20 to 40 minutes produce the most meaningful reduction in muscle soreness without significantly interfering with tissue repair. Sessions shorter than 20 minutes still provide benefit and are always better than complete inactivity. Sessions longer than 40 minutes at genuinely low intensity are not harmful, but the marginal return diminishes and the risk of intensity creep, the session gradually becoming harder than intended, increases with duration. One point that cannot be overstated: sleep is the most productive single recovery activity available to any athlete or recreational lifter. Active recovery is a meaningful addition to a well-structured recovery protocol, but it is not a substitute for adequate sleep. A 25-minute walk on 4 hours of sleep does not produce recovery. 40 minutes of mobility work on chronically insufficient sleep does not produce recovery. The sleep must come first. Active recovery adds to what sleep provides. It does not replace what sleep provides. Here is your challenge for this week. Take one of your scheduled rest days and replace complete inactivity with a 25-minute walk at a pace where you could hold a full conversation from start to finish. Keep your heart rate below 60% of your maximum. The following morning, before your next training session, note how your legs feel compared to the morning after a complete rest day. The difference is the data. Let it change how you think about the days between your sessions. The hill walker who walks the glen the morning after the summit does not call it rest, he calls it the walk home. And it is doing more for his next climb than a day on the couch ever would. I'm Fraser, and that is your Raw Daily Fuel. Subscribe to Raw Daily Fuel. Diverse voices, global perspectives, one mission. Helping you recover as hard as you train.